The Supreme Court has struck down the centerpiece of President Trump's trade agenda, ruling that his Liberation Day tariffs are unconstitutional. Stocks initially surged on the news as the prospect of billions in refunds now comes into focus. Here with me to discuss this development and what it means for investors is IBD news editor Ed Carson. So, Ed, we've been waiting a little bit to hear from the court on this issue, but what exactly did they rule?
Yeah, the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, ruled that the Trump tariffs that cited the International Emergency Economic Powers Act are invalid. That the IEEPA does not really authorize tariffs. Certainly doesn't. It's something that had never been used. I don't think that act actually mentions tariffs anywhere in there. So those tariffs will be struck down. A lot of tariffs will remain that do not use that authority, but it is a major blow to President Trump's signature policy, agenda, and sets the stage for possible refunds for a lot of importers that paid those tariffs.
And which sectors stand to benefit the most from the removal of some of these Trump tariffs?
Well, it would seem likely there would be retailers or other situations like that, just because, or the or wholesalers along those lines. I mean, certain companies that are like importers that paid the tariffs, and then maybe they got paid extra for those tariffs, they might really get a windfall. They either their customers or the ultimate end users paid for it, but that'll be a real advantage. So yeah, that would be uh, the probably the most notable sector. There's definitely going to be companies that maybe there might be certain issues where there's certain components and parts. It gets confusing because a lot of tariffs on autos and steel and aluminum, and we'll get to all that stuff. Some of those things are still there. So, and it's also possible that President Trump will reimpose these tariffs in different ways. And I know we'll get into that. So some of this should be short lived. So it's not. This is just another step in this ongoing tariff questions here.
Everything is always fluid. You mentioned steel. Do you think this ruling makes those existing tariffs on aluminum and steel vulnerable? I mean, we've seen names like U.S. Steel and Nucor seem to get a boost from this. What happens to those stocks if they lose sort of this competitive edge?
Yeah, I mean, there's 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum that is imported. Well, that isn't going away. Those are tariffs that will remain. A lot of industry specific tariffs certainly will remain. So that is going to continue. So no real impact there. I mean, obviously there's not a whole lot of support for the tariffs, but there's certainly not enough. Certainly seems to be no sign that there's enough support to overturn those tariffs. You need to have, the GOP lawmakers are generally backing Trump on the tariffs, so there's no reason why those would go away, from this ruling.
And we've seen the market's reaction to this. But do you think any of the gains from this ruling might be already priced into the current relief rally? Or what would, I guess, be the things to watch here in terms of price action?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know. I mean, it's like, yeah, that there you could have even had us sell the news right now. The initial reaction is a positive reaction from this. I mean, but it's wavering and may not even last out that this particular day, let alone how it goes on. Because the expectation is that the tariffs would be struck down, or these tariffs would be struck down. So yeah, not a surprise, and we know that they might come back in different ways. It does provide a big, at least in the short run, I mean, essentially a big tax cut for a lot of consumers, other things. So that is something that could boost the economy, boost the stock market in that regard. But yeah, so we'll have to see. I mean, you would say overall that this is a decision that the stock market likes, but you're right. A lot of this might already be priced in.
And we are kind of getting to the tail end of this earnings season. But when might this ruling show up in any of those corporate reports or in the margins, especially for those industries that have been heavily reliant on global supply chain?
Yeah, and again, it obviously depends on things like, I mean, this could take a while. I mean, presumably these tariffs that have been acted, they'll be halted. I would, that will be in the short run. Refunds, that is not, it has not been settled, probably for the lower court to figure out. but it could take a while. And even then, it takes months after that. We know that even those that are cut off today, it'll take a few months for those orders to happen and then those to be shipped. So you might see about people, Costco or others, Costco, which is looking for refunds. Costco might say on its next earnings call, well, we're expecting, in the next quarter or in 2 quarters from now, we'll get some kind of relief. But I don't. It's probably going to be 6 months or so before you start really seeing it in in a lot of companies that benefit.
And speaking of those refunds, I believe it's estimated around $175 billion in tariffs may need to be refunded. Again, how quick of a windfall do you think this would be? And you mentioned Costco, but what other companies in this space could be potential beneficiaries here?
Well, a lot of apparel makers. I mean, other things that Walmart. Huge global supply chains. I don't know how things will fall in. Like, President Trump has made these ad hoc deals with a lot of individual countries. I don't know how that really applies. Those haven't been ratified, so I don't know how that would apply. Like tariffs versus Vietnam, which affects apparel and other things. I don't know how that all goes down. What those individual deals that have been made. Yeah, that was something that was put into the dissent. Justice Kavanaugh, writing for the dissent, was part of the argument. Was like, this is a real mess. It's going to be tough to refund. I don't know how difficult it could be. Really, honestly, they should know who's paid the tariffs. It seems like you could pay that back, but I don't know. So maybe it is going to be extremely complicated. That's something that's going to be worked out over time. It could take quite a while for that to happen, assuming it does.
Well, everyone's favorite tech analyst, Dan Ives, wrote in a February 20th note to investors that this decision will create a very noisy situation, but for the tech space and AI trade, it's a net positive. So, how might we see this perhaps take some pressure off of the tech trade, or will it?
Uh, Well, I mean, the tech trade is sort of somewhat protected from a lot of the tariffs. There will be some tariffs on China that might be removed, and so there might be some things. But a lot of electronics are have been exempt from all of the tariffs. That's one reason fueling the AI boom is that all those chips and technology, for the most part, have been tariff free. Or at least with minimal tariffs. So it will probably be a help for the tech sector. There's probably are areas where it'll be an impact, and obviously, just getting a general tax cut will be important. But I don't know how much directly it'll be affecting the tech, other than maybe more of a risk-on situation. If you feel like there's going to be more growth and such, of course, with the uncertainty that's going to continue, it doesn't really, maybe the dynamic won't really change. As people realize, well, maybe we're happy we saw this ruling, even beyond the tariffs, because this could have been used for authority for all sorts of things for future presidents. But I don't know how much. We'll have to see how the market reacts. We always talked about it's not the news, it's the reaction to the news. It's big news, and we need to talk about it. But you're right, the reaction to the news is still uncertain.
And going along with that uncertainty, if the White House pivots to new authorities to enact tariffs, how might that impact the market? Can we expect more whipsaw action? And I guess, what's the best guidance we have for investors out there to navigate this developing news?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that President Trump can do. A lot of them require, like, you've got to go through these little steps and things, and he'll probably be willing to do that. Like do this investigation and this and that. And there's some other authorities that he hasn't really been used that much that they could try, and those might face some court challenges. So it could take some time. So he'll probably announce things, but it won't be like it probably a lot of them won't be right away. And so by the time they finally come in, it probably, the markets will have priced it in. Yeah. So the market, again, we don't know how much was priced in on this ruling. We don't know how much, because we know that Trump has said he would come back, and officials have said he would come back. So we don't know how much the market will say, yeah, we knew this was coming. We are going to get these tariffs back in various cobbled together ways. So yeah, so it'll be an interesting dynamic. It's probably going to be continuing at least through 2026, the uncertainty of what tariffs really are. And then you could have the midterms, which could have its own impact. Not too much. Even if the Democrats took control of Congress, they probably couldn't force Trump to stop in the short run. But yeah, it's uncertainty probably at least through this year on what the landscape is going to be.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for your insights today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.